Think about something difficult you pulled off, a role you weren't sure you were ready for, a project you thought might expose you. And then you did it. It worked. Here's the honest question. Did that success make you feel like you belonged for good? Or did the doubt come back the moment the next challenge showed up? You've heard the label, imposter syndrome, and you heard the advice that comes with it. Recognize that you earned it. Own your success. Look at the evidence. You've tried it, it doesn't take. So maybe the problem isn't that you're missing evidence. Maybe the feeling is what happens when one familiar thought, I'm not as good as they think I am, shows up and gets treated like a fact. And if you've already gone over the proof 100 times, going over it again may be exactly what keeps you circling. In this video, I'll show you why that happens and one skill to reach for when the argument keeps restarting. Not another way to convince yourself you're competent, a way to stop needing the verdict before you act. First, let's be clear about what this actually feels like, because the label makes it sound like a tidy confidence problem, and it usually isn't one. It's reading an email that says, "Great work," feeling relieved for half a second, and then hearing the reply in your own head. If they knew how much I'm making up as I go, they wouldn't say that. It's having the results on paper and feeling nothing when you look at them. It's over-preparing, double-checking, working past the point the task needs, because easing off feels risky. If that's familiar, it doesn't mean something is fundamentally wrong with you. This pattern has been described for decades. When psychologists first named the imposter phenomenon in 1978, they were writing about high-achieving women, people with real, provable accomplishments who stayed convinced they'd fooled everyone. The accomplishments kept coming, the fear didn't move. From the first description, that was the puzzle. The achievements weren't the thing that settled it. So the first question is why the evidence doesn't stick. You may have plenty of proof. The issue is what your mind does with it. Think about the last accomplishment that actually gave you a hit of relief. How long did it last before your mind started explaining it away? It was luck. The timing was right. The bar was low. They were being generous. The evidence arrived, and your mind found a way to spend it. One study captured this cleanly. Researchers gave people an intelligence test, then gave everyone positive feedback, no matter how they'd actually done. The people higher in imposter feelings were more likely to wave it off and put the success down to chance rather than to anything stable about themselves. Here's the part that matters. When you're already braced for exposure, positive evidence doesn't get absorbed. It gets reinterpreted. So more evidence isn't the fix because the same mind that feels under threat is also the one deciding what the evidence is worth. You end up defending yourself in a courtroom where your own mind is both the prosecutor and the judge. And when the standard moves every time you make your case, no amount of evidence ever closes it. So you're not losing the argument. The standard keeps moving. I've put the practice we're about to cover into a short field guide you can use afterward. It's free, linked in the description for now. The next question is what we're even calling imposter syndrome. The phrase sounds clinical, like a fixed condition that you carry around. It helps to notice the thought sitting underneath the label. I'm not as good as they think I am. Yours might be worded differently. I got lucky. I'm behind everyone else. Eventually, they'll figure me out. That thought is deeply human. An imposter phenomenon isn't a formal diagnosis. Naming it helps because it tells you you're not the only one, but the same label can make a recurring thought sound like a permanent defect that defines you. The same study that I mentioned found something else worth sitting with. Imposter scores had almost no relationship to how people actually performed on those tests or to measured intelligence. At least in that setting, the feeling wasn't a reliable readout of ability. To be clear, that doesn't mean self-doubt is a secret proof that you're brilliant. it means the feeling isn't measuring your ability in the first place. It can run on its own. The feeling tells you the moment carries weight. It isn't an objective measure of your worth. So when you've gone over the evidence and the argument just keeps restarting, what do you do instead? Start by noticing what the argument is trying to protect you from. Usually, it's exposure. Don't slip. Don't let anyone see you struggle. Don't give them a reason to doubt you belong. Research on achievement goals helps explain what that does. People with stronger imposter feelings tend to shift their attention away from learning, away from getting better at the thing itself, and toward managing how competent they look. Instead of, how do I get better at this? The question quietly becomes, how do I make sure no one sees me struggle? Notice where imposter thoughts tend to get loud. When you're being evaluated, stepping into a bigger role, doing something that matters to you, that doesn't make the thought proof you're inadequate. It tells you the situation feels important enough to set the pattern off. It's not marking your inadequacy, it's marking that the moment matters. Now, the skill. It isn't a way to force yourself to feel confident. It's learning to notice the thought as a thought instead of looking at everything through it. When I'm a fraud shows up and you're wrapped up in it, it doesn't feel like one interpretation. It feels like the plain truth of the situation. The skill is to step back and name what just happened. There's the thought that I'm a fraud. Not I am a fraud, I'm having the thought that I'm a fraud. Notice when it showed up, the exact sentence it used, and what it's pushing you to do next. Over-prepare, go quiet, ask for reassurance, turn the thing down. Psychologists have studied this move directly, learning to treat a thought as a passing mental event rather than a command or a fact. In experiments, it lowered how distressing and how believable negative self-thoughts felt. It held up about as well as arguing the thought down. And when the arguing has already become a loop, stepping back like this is often the more useful next step. You didn't disprove the thought, you didn't make it disappear, you just stopped taking it as an instruction you have to follow. You went from being the thought to having the thought. And that half inch of distance is where the choice comes back. From there, you get your attention back and you can put it on the work, the conversation, the opportunity that mattered before the thought showed up. Now, one distinction before we finish. Sometimes this is an occasional visitor. It shows up, you notice it, and you keep moving. Sometimes it runs the place. If it's driving constant overwork, making you avoid chances you actually want to take, spiking real anxiety around being evaluated, or wearing down how you function at work or in your relationships, then thought watching probably isn't enough all on its own. That's worth talking through with a professional. Not because you did the skill wrong, but because a bigger pattern deserves real support. Try this the next time the fraud thought shows up. Before you reach for your evidence again, notice that you're about to restart the same argument. If you've already been over the proof, you don't have to pull the same file out one more time. And don't make feeling certain that you belong the price of taking the next step. Just name it quietly. There's the thought that I'm a fraud. Notice when it showed up and what it's trying to pull you away from. Then take the next useful action with the thought still there. You don't have to wait until you feel confident or legitimate or sure. You don't have to win the case. You just have to stop treating every fraud thought like a trial. The field guide in the description gives you a simple structure for practicing exactly that. Learning to step back from a thought instead of automatically obeying it is part of a much bigger skill. It's changing how you respond to your own mind and to your own thoughts, so they have less say over what you do. It's useful across a lot of different anxiety problems, and I made a full video on how to build it from the ground up. It's on the screen now, and I'm curious, what exact sentence does your fraud thought use? The argument may still show up, you just don't have to keep answering it. If this was useful, please make sure to subscribe. Clear, honest psychology is what I focus on in this channel. That's what it's for. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.